today I have a special guest on Chatting with Patty, and his name is Tereva Kola, and he is a Polynesian jeweler. I met him, let me just tell you the story. I'm going to put this down. I met him a few months ago through my friend Marie. They are engaged. And of course, I met them through dance. So for all you dance people out there that know me, usually that's my connection with meeting everybody. It's a fascinating world, and I've met so many wonderful people. Marie, who's engaged to Tereva, and they're preparing their wedding dance, had asked me, "Hey, Patty, it'd be really great if you can come over and take a look at our wedding dance, because I want to get your feedback." And so I thought, sure, why not? I went over there, and it was, I watched them dance. And by the way, they were absolutely beautiful. They had such an amazing synchronicity. It flowed so well. I was pleasantly surprised at how well Tereva danced. I knew how Marie danced, but I had never known about this guy. And I thought, wow, he dances quite well. So I thought, there's nothing that I need to do except go out there and show this. This was amazing. And after that, we had dinner together, and they began to share their story. And specifically, Tereva shared with me about his work as a Polynesian jeweler and his life and his heritage. And I was very fascinated by that. And of course, I thought, what great way but to share it with all of you here today. So I am going to say welcome to Tereva and Marie. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Good. So let's get right to it. I wanted to share a little bit about your story. The little bit that I do know is that my understanding is your mother is Polynesian, your father is French. By the way, we're going to be doing some translation because I know Tereva understands English, but his natural first language is French, and hence Marie we'll be doing this back and forth in English and French. So that'll make it that much more interesting. So back to Tereva. Yes. So your mother is Polynesian. Your father was a world-renowned French sailor. And I thought that was fascinating. And there was a story that was actually deeply touching as I was reading about you, and you were sharing with me that you lost your father at a very young age. He lost his life tragically when he was supposed to be on his last sea race and never returned home. And so I can't imagine the devastation of that, both as your mother who now needs to parent the two of you. You were twins, if I understand correctly, and then how that could have influenced your life moving forward. Was this part of, was his life and his legend and his, everything that he created, part of the impulse that moved you through your life and your work? So why don't we start directly with that, Tereva? If you could share a little bit about how your father and his life and his legend probably influenced your life, I'm assuming, and your work and your purpose.
Tu veux le faire en français?
Donc,
So I'm going to be translating.
Yes.
Bien évidemment, les questions qu'on se pose quand on grandit, c'est de savoir d'où on vient.
The question that someone asks when you are a little child is where am I coming from?
Donc, entre cette légende que l'on affichait et ce qu'on ressent vraiment, on va chercher cette question de qu'est-ce qui est de l'inné et de l'acquis.
Je comprends pas ce que tu essaies de me dire. C'est la différence entre l'inné et l'acquis. C'est-à-dire, fais ça plus simple. J'essaie de comprendre ce que tu
j'essaie de dire.
Pour le traduire.
Qu'est-ce qui était naturel chez moi, qu'est-ce qui m'appartenait à mon père et qu'est-ce qui était
I got it.
chez moi.
So he was trying to make the difference between what is natural in him and what belonged to his dad, because really he never did that.
C'était la seule
And
façon
so
de le connaître.
he's always questioned himself. Okay, so this belongs to me or this belongs to my dad, because he never knew him.
La passion de la mer, puisque Tahiti est entouré d'eau, que bien sûr j'ai découvert ce côté sportif qui est chez moi.
So he believes that the passion that he has for the ocean is probably has to do with his dad. His love for the ocean.
Et à travers tous les sports que j'ai pu pratiquer à la mer, forcément, j'ai aimé l'environnement, c'est-à-dire la faune, la flore, les animaux, le corail, la beauté de l'océan.
So he's always done a lot of sports that have to do with the ocean. Tu peux me nommer quelques sports que tu as fait, par exemple, avec
Euh,
l'océan?
Surf and fishing,
Surfing is one of them, fishing one,
snorkeling.
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 He was surrounded by water all the time, so he went to the ocean a lot when he was a child, and obviously nature had a lot of influence on him because if you go to Tahiti, and we're going to show you a few video in a few minutes, all you can see is nature and the beauty of nature all around, not just from the ocean, but also from the flowers and the mountains and the trees, and everything is beautiful, really.
Et
Yeah,
donc,
and
voilà,
go ahead.
naturellement, après être passé en France, la bijouterie, je me suis tourné vers la bijouterie.
Comment
donc,
ça l'a influencé? Elle t'a demandé, ton père, comment il a influencé ta vie?
le challenge.
So he think that
Mm.
the challenge was really because his dad was all about the challenge of the daring to go to the ocean to sell the world against all odds, against no financial support and everything. And he was so good at the vision that he had that he was like the number one sailor in the world, in the world of
In France.
in France, actually, for selling the triathlon. What was this? What was the name of the
Il a un petit
bateau?
peu, je dis un peu, le trimaran, c'était le Manureva.
The Manureva boat, which, if you Google it, you probably will see a lot of stories about Alain Collat, which was his dad. And so he believes the challenge and the passion came from his dad.
Okay,
The desire to do things well.
got it.
The legacy.
To continue his legacy to some degree, right? So your dad was such this grandiose man. I'm just going to share this a little bit. Like your father was such a grandiose person that he wanted to, sort of take that name and that and the thing that he created and kind of, to your point, separate himself from it to say, who am I within this grandiose of a man? And at the same time, how do I nurture and sort of and give righteous to the father's legacy, and still honor that is the better word. And I still honor his legacy and everything that he's done that I admire, while maintaining my sense of self, my sense of uniqueness and identity within that. Did I get that correct? He was trying, this was his work, it kind of influences both.
Yes, that's what Tereva said about having to tap in the inner side of himself to find himself through the legend that his dad was, and actually not to be the shadow of his dad, but to be his own self.
Mm. And so how did he focus on the pearl? Because I know part of what we're gonna have a beautiful opportunity to look at the pearls and how they're cultivated, and also the amazing jewelry that he creates. I'm curious as to why the pearl. What was the influence that he chose to focus as a jeweler mostly on the pearl?
Pourquoi est-ce que tu as choisi de focuser sur les perles particulièrement?
Déjà parce que c'est la gemme emblématique de Tahiti, et que c'est, après ma formation de bijouterie, c'était le principal, c'est la principale gemme qu'il y a, et comment dire, comme elle vient de la mer, et que c'est la particularité que chaque perle est unique. Les couleurs et les formes, c'était un peu comme redécouvrir une perle à chaque fois que tu la travailles. Et c'est un peu comme le parallèle avec les femmes. On dit qu'à Tahiti, chaque perle est unique, donc chaque femme est unique.
Okay, so it's really about the uniqueness of the pearl, and that has to do with the feminine, that he believes that every woman is unique. And so when he creates a jewelry, what he loves about making pearl jewelry as opposed to any other kind of jewelries, because obviously he could do anything, is really that each pearl speaks its own language. So there is a shine and the difference of every pearl. So it doesn't matter what you buy as a pearl, you're never going to have the same necklace or the same, bracelet than anybody else because each pearl has a different texture and color and shine to it. So that's what he loves about it.
Yeah. So, I'm just going to do this for a moment, but as someone who has watched him work and speak about his work, I see how uniquely he takes care of every single piece. And what intrigued me the most about him is his joy and passion in expressing that. Like, he will go forever explaining this one little pearl, and that's what I was fascinated by, how someone can be so enamored his own work, how he's so passionate and completely devoted to it. And so this is why I felt it was so important to have him, because that kind of devotion is a rarity, and it's a gift when you can be that have that much care and towards your craft. And I always appreciate anybody who can do that, and he demonstrated that immediately when he was talking and showing me his workshop and everything that he did. I thought, oh my god, he's a true artist, and he will live and die by this pearl. And so you will notice it in the craftsmanship of his work. So I just wanted to share that with everybody, because it is a uniqueness that he has, a unique gift, and that devotion is key. So great. So why don't we get right into the educational? Oh no, wait, before we go into the history and education, one of the uniqueness about his jewelry is this sort of mechanism where things are interchangeable, where the pieces actually can move from one piece of jewelry to the other. I've never seen that before, and I thought that was brilliant. Can you talk to us about that before we go on to everything else?
Où est-ce que ça t'est venu l'idée d'interchangeabilité?
Ben, ça m'est venu en changeant constamment les perles quand de la clientèle, hein, qui voulait interchanger des différentes perles, il fallait les décoller. Et en parallèle, à l'époque où les piercings étaient à la mode, l'idée m'a émergé et est sortie d'une évidence. Et puis après, j'ai découvert que c'était un peu comme une femme, c'est-à-dire encore une fois une redécouverte de la femme, c'est que la femme aime le changement par rapport à la coiffure, aux chaussures, aux vêtements. Et je me suis dit, tiens, pourquoi pas, au lieu de constamment acheter
De
nouveaux bijoux pour avoir différentes perles, puisque tout est axé sur la perle en Polynésie, pourquoi ne pas créer un bijou dont la perle est interchangeable?
C'est ça.
Et j'ai inventé ce système.
So the interchangeability comes from what he loves about it is that, well, it's always in reference to seeing so many women that keep buying, so much jewelry, and it's like not so ecological, or not so, from a consuming point of view. The idea was that, okay, instead of keeping buying rings over and over again, why not creating a ring that I can change just the pearls that are, I can show you one of the one that we are talking about here. This is a ring that is interchangeable, and when I remove it, I can just pick and choose any kind of pearl that I. And so, if I feel like a black pearl and a gold pearl, like this is what I felt today, so that's what I was wearing. But I could wear a white and a dark one, or a pink one, or a blue one, because it's like candy. It's like a candy store. So the idea came really from that, because a lot of women came to him and kept telling him, okay, I'd like to have you make a new piece of jewelry, and they were all pearl based. So he's like, okay, well, why don't I just use the same base, and you could just keep buying pearls instead of having to change the base of the jewelry. And also, I think the idea came from when he was making piercing for the navel, and so some of them were already interchangeable.
Yes, of course.
And so that's why, this came from that. It's like, okay, the idea came from that as well. And so he decided to make a collection that has the option to be interchangeable.
Surtout, la technique, le point technique, c'est que les perles à l'origine sont collées, fixées, ne peuvent pas s'enlever.
Ouais.
Et on avait ce problème que les clientes voulaient la paire de tel pendentif, mais la paire de telle bague, il fallait qu'on décolle, c'était un risque.
because a lot of
guillemets.
his clients, when he was in Tahiti, came to him and say, okay, I don't like this pendant anymore, but I want to keep the pearl. Can you use this pearl and, you know, create a ring, for instance, from it? And the problem, when you glue the pearl, then you could damage it when you remove it. And so that system creates versatility in terms of changing the jewelry without altering, you know, the beauty of the pearl by damaging it.
Oh, interesting. I mean, first of all, again, I think that was absolutely brilliant because, to his point, he alluded to that women love change. So, and because we love change and we're always buying new jewelry, the fact that he said, you know, you can interchange things, use the body of one, the pearl of another, just makes it look like it satisfies the part of us that always needs to have different things depending on our mood. So, and I loved it. So there's a certain beautiful sophistication, class to that, and versatility where we can interchange it so well. So I've never seen that before, and maybe it exists out there, I don't know, but I thought that was the brilliance behind a lot of his work. So yeah. So why don't we go?
Grâce à ça, j'ai compris la femme.
Someone said to him that thanks to this, he understands woman.
Beautiful.
I can attest to this. It's true.
Excellent. So, I know you have some videos that you'd like to share with us regarding the history and symbolism of the pearl and a few others about also educating us. I'm gonna, before you share, I'm just gonna go back to me for a moment. That basically you're going to be talking to us about 3 aspects specifically. One of them is about the history and symbolism of the pearl, because it's really important, because then you can truly understand the love and the passion behind it. 2 is the difference between cultured versus natural versus imitation pearls, so that we actually learn how to understand the differences, and obviously there's a price point that goes with that, but it's good that we're educated in that and understand the differences between each, and ultimately finally how the pearl is produced, and then you can see why the ones that are the real deal are so expensive, because I watched that video and I thought, wow, that's like surgery. That is unbelievable what that's like. So why don't you, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Sure.
And you will get us sharing that video. And the first one is regarding the history. Right now, everyone, it is in French. And Marie will quickly translate it at the end. It is a short video, but for those of you who want to watch some of the beautiful visuals, here it is. Take it away.
So thank you, Patty. Thank you so much. And first of all, thank you for inviting us. This is a beautiful evening. We are so excited to share. For the lack of not being able with COVID to share with friends and groups, then, you know, thanks God, Zoom is here to be online. So tonight we're going to be, celebrating the feminine, but also we want to share with you these Tahitian dreams, because this is all about the dream of a foreign land. So to understand a little bit about Tahiti, the pearl is really one of the most important aspects of Tahiti, because this is the main gem that is produced in Tahiti, and we call it the black pearl. Before we get into the video, I just want to say that this is important that people know that the pearl is the only gem in the world, okay, that is organic and that comes from nature. You could say that the diamond comes from nature, but you have to drill and you have to hurt the earth to get to your diamond. But the pearl is really, you know, we're not hurting any animals, we're not hurting anything, we're just collecting it into the oyster, and then we're not killing the oyster. This is important that people know that. A lot of people think we are killing the oyster. So it's a very natural, organic way to basically own a gem. And it's used since so many years ago. Cleopatra was using pearls. The Queen Elizabeth was using pearls. Generally speaking, back then, the pearl was really the symbol for royalties. You know, it symbolized the connection between the divine and the earth plane. And so when a king or a queen would wear pearl, it was like a tribute to their authority. And it was considered a gift from God given to the king or to the queen.
Mm.
So it had this symbolism back then. So let me show you this video. It's only a 2 minutes video, and it's gonna tell you a little bit about more of the symbolism of the pearl.
Dans l'histoire de chacune des antiques civilisations, on retrouve toujours une légende concernant la perle. Celle-ci exprime invariablement un don céleste et représente le triple symbolisme lune, eau, femme, d'où dérivent les propriétés magiques de la perle, médicinale, naissance, funéraire. Dans son explication de la genèse des perles, l'Orient apporte un parfum d'érotisme magique. Selon les influences célestes, les défauts viendraient du tonnerre et la perfection de la venue au monde au moment propice. C'est en tout état de cause la trace de l'activité céleste et l'embryon d'une naissance corporelle ou spirituelle. En Polynésie, notre naque se nomme Teoufi. Elle est la fille de Okana, l'esprit du corail, et de Varo, l'esprit du sable. Elle est parée de la robe étincelante de chaque poisson de son domaine. Elle était tellement belle que Oro, dieu de la paix et de la fertilité, descendit sur terre chevauchant un arc-en-ciel et lui donna la perle pour l'offrir aux hommes. La robe de Teoufi et l'arc-en-ciel de Oro donnèrent l'irisation de la perle de Tahiti. Il est pratiquement certain que le plus ancien collier existant de nos jours vienne de la Perse antique, du sarcophage d'une princesse achémide découvert lors de fouilles à Susa, en Iran, en 1902 et datant d'environ 2400 ans. Il est connu sous le nom de collier de Susa et possède 3 rangs de 216 perles. Les premiers gisements perliers ont été exploités depuis plus de 2000 ans avant Jésus-Christ. Les 3 premiers sont respectivement ceux du golfe Persique, de la mer Rouge et du golfe de Myanmar. En d'autres termes, la perle ne se cantonnait guère à une zone géographique bien délimitée, mais elle représentait toujours les symboles de la richesse, du mystère, de la beauté et de l'amour. Elle était considérée comme un cadeau divin de la nature faite à l'homme. Les colonies espagnoles et françaises ont été l'objet de grands commerces de perles d'eau douce et de mer. On se souvient des déboires qu'a connus Christophe Colomb pour son commerce privé qu'il avait organisé. Pour découvrir une perle fine, il est nécessaire d'ouvrir 10 à 15 000 huîtres ou moules. C'est pourquoi, à la fin du 19e siècle, les principaux bassins de gisement de perles naturelles se sont taris. La première tentative de greffe remonte au XIIIe siècle en Chine. Mais c'est vers la fin du XIXe siècle, suite à l'épuisement des bancs d'huîtres perliers et à certaines épidémies marines, que nombre de scientifiques ont tenté de reproduire le processus naturel de formation d'une perle. Au printemps 1902, Tsuhei Mise, 1880-1924, entreprend des expériences de culture perlière et en annonce le succès en 1904. Monsieur Nishikawa débute ses propres essais en 1905 avec ses élèves et présente ses premiers résultats en 1907. La méthode employée et utilisée de nos jours fut nommée la méthode de pièces. Mais c'est en 1916 que Monsieur Kokishi Mikimoto, 1858-1964, obtint le premier brevet d'inventeur et producteur de perles au Japon, dite Akoya. La perle de culture était née.
So that's a little bit of information about, the importance also of understanding that a natural pearl is not a cultured pearl. A cultured pearl is a pearl that is man-made in a sense of, it's like having an in vitro. The pearl is obviously a natural pearl inside the oyster, but it's handmade by man, as opposed to a natural pearl. Like the video was saying, you have to open up to 150,000 oysters to have a natural pearl. So you can only imagine the price that you'd have to pay to buy this pearl. So if it was not for cultured pearl, I don't think we will have any pearl jewelry because it would
Yeah.
be too expensive, right, to purchase. And we're going to do a little 30 seconds video right now in just a minute on the difference actually between a cultured pearl and a natural pearl. This is important that people get educated. And also there are some imitation pearl that unfortunately are on the market. And if you are not a little bit educated and knowing the difference, you probably think that you're buying something that is too expensive, for instance, when you know the pearl that you are buying may be not a real pearl, it's an imitation pearl. So we're going to get into this now, but I just want to do a little snapshot on the Tahitian pearl, because obviously what we spoke about is really, generally speaking, the pearls, but what makes a Tahitian pearl so special, okay? We basically say that the Tahitian pearl, which is also known the black pearl, is the most beautiful pearl in the entire world. Why is that? There is a couple of reasons for that. Number one reason is that the Tahitian pearl has a very wide variety of sizes and colors, which, you know, for instance, if we take the Philippine pearls, they are all gold, or the Lakoya pearl that are Japanese, they are all white. You can never find different colors of pearl, but the Tahitian pearl have different colors because depending on where the farm pearl is located, the water currents, you know, there is different cold or warm is going to influence the quality of the pearl. Also, the pearl is feeding itself by phytoplankton, and depending on if there is a magnesium, less magnesium, or more magnesium in the water, then you're going to have shades between pink and green and blues and everything in between. And because the Polynesian islands are so spread out around, if you look at the Polynesia, it's very spread out, then you have different temperatures, and this is why you have different colors of pearl all around, and that makes them really unique. The other reason why it's unique, it's because it's also the strongest. So if I take this pearl and I crush it on the floor, it's actually stronger than granite. Okay, wow. On a scale of 0 to 10, you have 0 as a chalk and 10 as a diamond. The pearl is ranked it's 3.6 and
is 3.4
and the granite is 3.4, just to give you an idea. So you can never really break your pearl, but you can of course damage it if you don't take good care of it, and we can go into it a little bit later on how you take care of the pearl. So that's what makes it unique. If I go into Chinese pearl, for instance, they are so thin that you could probably break them. Okay, so that's also why we say that this is the most beautiful pearl. And something important to know for people who are into ecology, because I'm very much into ecology, a pearl can never be good if the water that it's grown into, it's not pure. It has to be crystal pure, because the oyster can only develop a pearl and develop itself in crystal pure lagoons. And that's why we also say that, you know, unfortunately, with the pollution of the ocean, eventually the pearls will eventually dries up, because they cannot develop properly if they don't have a proper clean environment.
Wow.
So, you know, this is why we say that not only the pearl is unique, but it's also very pure because of that. Not because we want to do some marketing thing or anything, but because of the crystal clear. And if you do go to Tahiti, and if you have the chance to go there, then you'll find that the water over there is really crystal clear in many, many places. I haven't found any pollution there whatsoever. So that's why also it's easy to cultivate the pearls.
So thank you for sharing that, first of all, with that video, but specifically your explanation, because one, I did not realize it took that many oysters to actually create a pearl, like, so I get that, hence through the creation of the cultured pearl became apparent for even the ability to create any kind of jewelry. And I know you're going to be showing that video on educating us about how it's actually done. And I didn't realize it was that powerful of a stone, if you will. And specifically with Tereva, and we'll see it later on, one of the things that he's created uniquely also is sort of a pearl that has an imprint on it. Like he's created, as you showed, I'm gonna spotlight you guys, but see his pearls, they're absolutely stunning. There's the smooth ones, and then there's others that are, I don't know what he calls that process of doing that.
We call it tattoo pearls.
Tattoo pearls, brilliant. I love
Yeah.
that.
Because it's
That
like
was-
having a tattoo, but you put it on the pearl instead of on the skin.
And that in itself, like I can imagine it requires specific instruments to even do that, like
Dentistry says.
dentistry style.
It's carving because he's carving and engraving the pearl.
So there's no 2-1 carvings that are the same, because he does this with each and
No.
every pearl.
Correct.
Oh my goodness.
They're all different.
Oh my goodness. I have a whole newfound respect for this man. Wow.
Une seule fois, bien.
Yeah, you could have engraved any symbol that you like, or any Polynesian
Really?
tattoo. We've done some. A friend of ours wanted to have a logo of her company, so he engraved it on the pearl. Like she had a beautiful lotus flower she wanted to put as a logo, and he did it. So
Wow, that's amazing. So I hope everybody can hear this and appreciate that. All right, so let's keep moving along on to your next video, which is going to be about
the just the difference between a cultured natural and an imitation pearl. This is like 30 seconds, but this is important because whether you buy from Tereva or you buy from anybody, or you go to Box and you get yourself pearls, this is important that you understand the difference between those three, the culture, the natural, and the imitation pearl.
Okay.
So
Une perle naturelle.
Sorry, I'm just gonna zoom. Here we go. Share screen. Here we go. Okay.
Une perle naturelle est une perle produite naturellement par un mollusque marin. C'est le plus élégant moyen de défense d'un animal puisque la sécrétion nacrière est provoquée par un irritant. Dans le cadre d'une perle de culture, l'origine est due à une intervention humaine. L'homme va réunir les conditions pour déclencher la sécrétion nacrière. Enfin, les perles d'imitation sont complètement fabriquées par l'homme.
I don't know if you can see this last picture. This is an imitation pearl.
Okay.
It's pretty much, I'm going to talk about the Chinese pearl because the Chinese pearl are all white. And so to make them sound like they are Tahitian pearl, which, as I said, they are known to be the most beautiful pearl in the world, they use a specific chemical on it. It's like a coating to make them look like they are Tahitian pearls. And so you got to know the difference between that. I mean, usually when you buy a pearl, first of all, it should come with a certificate of authenticity, right? Where you have the pearl lot number, where it's coming from, and the farm where it's coming from. If someone offer you pearl that don't have a certificate of authenticity, I would question their origin, first of all. And so a lot of time it's easy to see them because they don't have different shades, they are just one color. Tu les as pas là, les fausses qu'on avait acheté? He's gonna go get, because we have some that we have
fake.
to show you. He's gonna get some, so you know the difference. So it's important that you check those things before you buy pearls.
So just can you move your mouse for a second, because I want to see what's written there. The imitation is one of them imitation versus the other one that is not? They're both imitation.
They are both imitation. The picture is not really good. He's gonna go and get one for you guys so you can see.
Chose, tu leur dis que les perles chinoises sont très très petites, ça se reconnaît tout de suite. Parce que la perle tahitienne, elle commence à 8 mm.
Okay.
Donc la perle
Okay,
chinoise-
so let's stop the
So,
video and
I'm gonna
show
show
you
you the-
properly. Can you stop the video, Marie, so that we can
Oh, yeah,
see
sure.
you? Yeah.
Let me do that. Here we go. I hopefully you can see this. Obviously, when we are live, this is better. But those two pearls. Oops. See, I'm just okay. So the two small pearl, the imitation pearl are the smallest one right there.
Mhm.
They are the imitation pearl. I don't know, and those are the Tahitian pearl right there.
Wow.
So I don't know if you can see, but they're almost like the color in the imitation pearl are almost like the same. And I lost one. They're almost the
It's okay.
same. Like it looks too beautiful, not too beautiful, but too homogeneous to be
Okay, to be real. Okay.
Where the Tahitian pearl, they have a different shade. Sorry, the light is not the best, but I don't know if you can see. Oh, show me the other one, les petites qu'on a ramenées. I'm going to show you the Tahitian pearl as a comparison, so you could see the different. Are you able to see anything, Patty?
Oh, lift it higher. There we go. Higher,
Yeah.
higher. Oh, there it is. So those are Tahitian pearls.
Yeah,
Oh my God, stunning.
yeah, they are all different colors.
All different colors. Yeah.
We just got them actually because we just got back from Tahiti, but it's really difficult to show you exactly because it's so precise. But
Yes.
it's important that you know that there are some imitation pearl, and all the pearl that are in the market are mostly cultured pearls, right? But you got to know that some could be fake pearls.
Yes. Yes. Got it. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, it's hard to tell, but once you took out the bowl, I could see those ones, the beautiful colors. And then, you're going to be educating us some more on actually the process. Because I think I saw one video where they actually, is that the one you're going to show us on how they actually open the oyster and how they actually create the cultured pearls? So that'd be great if you could share that one with us, because that one blew my mind. I didn't realize that that's how it's done.
Yes, exactly. This is an in vitro, and it's going to show also how long it takes to be an in vitro specialist.
An in vitro specialist for pearls, yes.
It takes a 3-year certification because it's a very complicated process. I think it's more complicated to do an in vitro on an oyster than on a woman.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so share us that, and then you can fill us in a little bit more on that.
Just 1 second. I'm gonna close that one. And it's the first time we're doing this on Zoom, so
why
bear
not?
with
It's all
me,
good.
but it's like usually we do presentation, but because of COVID, it's becoming online world now. All right, so let me share that. Here we go. Hopefully this is a good one. Yes, it should be.
Une nacre donneuse. Une nacre donneuse se nomme ainsi car le greffon nécessaire à la greffe provient de la découpe du manteau, la partie brune à l'extrémité de l'animal. Elle est de sexe mâle et environ 2 ans. Les laboratoires ont déterminé que la qualité d'une perle est surtout influencée par la propreté du greffon. La zone de découpe du greffon est bien délimitée. Elle correspond à la zone de nacre colorée et irisée du bord de la coquille. Le greffon utilisé aura une taille de 5 mm environ. Ainsi, les caractéristiques de la future perle correspondront essentiellement aux spécificités, et notamment la couleur, du greffon inséré dans la nacre receveuse. Une nacre receveuse. Une nacre receveuse doit être saine et en bonne condition. Elle est de sexe femelle, donc plus de 2 ans et demi. Elle présente une poche perlière large et va recevoir les éléments nécessaires à la greffe. Le nucléus. Le nucléus est obtenu à partir d'un bivalve d'eau douce du Mississippi, le Legumia recta ou Mussel River Shell, constitué de carbonate de calcium et permet un résultat de maintien en greffe de l'ordre de 70%. Il sera taillé, coupé et arrondi pour faciliter l'opération. La taille du nucléus déterminera la taille de la future perle. De nos jours, la majorité des nucléus sont fabriqués en Chine. Le greffeur. Pendant des décennies, la majorité des greffeurs étaient essentiellement japonais. De nos jours, le développement de la perle en Chine a professionnalisé cette activité et de nombreuses fermes perlières polynésiennes emploient des greffeurs chinois. En 1991, le gouvernement polynésien a ouvert une école de greffe à Rangiroa pour former les jeunes Polynésiens. Il faut savoir que pour obtenir une bonne technique de greffe, il faut disposer de 10 à 15 000 nacres et au moins de 2 à 3 ans d'expérience. Un bon greffeur a un rendement de 45%, 55% de nacre greffée. Les meilleurs rendements oscillent aux alentours de 60%.
C'est tout.
Yes. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, so I mean, as you can see, even the best surgeon for the in vitro surgery, the rejection is 50%, 50
It's
to
50%. So
yeah.
even after all that, once they, okay, so if I understand correctly, and did I hear that they has to come from a male oyster?
No, it's a female oyster.
Oh, it's a female oyster.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. I was trying to understand so on top of that, you have to look at male versus female oysters. So you need a female oyster.
Yes.
Okay. Then you got to cut that part that's around there, and from there they use that to form the circle, and then therefore reinsert it into the oyster to come into full bloom, if you will, in a simplistic version.
That's for the color, he says, because
That's only for the color. Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
yeah.
C'est plus
Okay.
c'est comme
And
une
this is
association
taken from the
génétique.
male.
Le
Oh,
mâle
the
fait-
color is taken from the
Taken
male.
from the male.
That's what I was trying to understand.
Yes,
And what's taken from the female?
but nothing. She's receiving it,
She's receiving
right?
it. Oh, so they take that from the male, and then they create whatever they need to do, with the graffeur, the grafter creates the beginning part of the pearl and then inserts it into the female oyster, which then becomes an actual authentic. Oh, wow.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it's important to know that the pearl is really an irritation. It's nothing else for the oyster. And because of that irritation, she's going to grow around a protection, and eventually she wants to reject it.
Oh,
They make the, at the farm they always close the oyster, otherwise she could just open and reject the pearl because it's an irritation. The pearl is nothing else than naturally you have little sand coming into the oyster, and then this is why sometimes there is a pearl forming because the irritation grown into a pearl. But a lot of time, it's being rejected. That's why when we do the cultured pearls, they are actually cooked inside the oyster, so to speak,
yes.
and so it cannot escape because the oyster is being sealed. I mean, nothing harm to the oyster, but it's sealed with it looks like a tie wrap to me, but so it doesn't reject it.
I see.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's fascinating.
I know.
Oh my goodness. I want pearls now. Now I want pearls. You see, that's beautiful. Oh goodness. So did we actually look at all the videos now? Can we go right to him, showing us his beautiful work? And I want everybody to see, you're going to be showing us what he does. And for everybody listening in, they will offer a discount code, which I will share with you, Tereva10. I'll put it in the chat box. I'll send it by email. I'll post it on Facebook. If there's anyone, the reason I have Tereva's work on this, because artistry, the devotion that it takes to create that kind of amazing work, needs to be shared and needs to be shown to people. So hopefully some people will have gained some knowledge and respect for the process, and potentially want to invest in getting some pearls with you. So please do share what he has.
Absolutely. I just want to say before we show you a few of our bestsellers. Obviously, we have over 50 pieces, so we're going to show you only the bestseller. And I guess if people want to know more, they are welcome to visit our website. We just literally got online 3 days ago for our first website. So you know, it's now we are live, which is good, and people are going to be able to see the entire collection. But I just want to say that also, just to finish on the education, it's important to understand that what makes a pearl very valuable, because that's another thing that people have to understand. It's because of the different colors. It's very difficult to match the perfect earrings or a necklace, you know, that is all pearl, because it may take many farm récolte. How do you say récolte? You know, like harvest, farm harvest,
Yes.
harvest of pearl, because the pearl are being harvested, and there is a season for it. It's once or twice a year, depending on the farm, the farmers. So it's different. It's very difficult to match the color, and that's what, when you buy, for instance, a full necklace of pearl, it's more expensive because it takes many harvests to find the perfect color to match the necklace. And a little bit on the same range of what we discussed with the greffe, is that on 100 pearl that are, you know, successful, only 10% are going to be top gem pearl. The rest are going to be quality B, C, and D. And so out of all those qualities, you're going to have the color, the shape, the shyness, the thickness, that is going to come into consideration when you value a pearl. Because, you know, it's like gold and silver and diamond, you know, there is a price for pearls, right? And so depending on the color, the shape, the size, the shyness, the surface, it varies. You know, I give you an example. A size up to 12 millimeter is internationally, you know, we know that this is a price. Anything above 12 millimeter size, there is almost no price, because it's, to make a pearl of 10 millimeters, to give you an example, it takes about 10 years for an oyster. Ça fait rien. Et parce qu'il y a le temps d'incubation aussi.
2 ans,
Il y a le
plus
temps.
3 ans, ça fait 5 ans.
Okay, sorry, it's 5 years. 5 years for 10 millimeters. Et c'est autour de 12 mm, c'est quoi?
Au-dessus de 12 mm, ça peut aller jusqu'à 6, 7, 8 ans.
And 12 millimeter, it can go up to 8 years. And then, you know, as you go up more on size, you know,
The longer it takes.
17 millimeters, 18, then it takes forever. And then obviously it's pretty much the price you're willing to pay when it comes to those size. But obviously we don't do those size right now. I mean, we do sizes from 8 millimeters up to 12. So we have pearls actually for all the budgets. So that's important that you understand that, because, you know, it's part of the education, right? All right, so let's start with the collection. So what I think we should do is we could start with the Yumi collection. The Yumi collection is one of our bestseller. It's like you and me, because it's 2 pearls. So we have 2 pearls of, you know, the bracelet, the ring, and the necklace. So I have the necklace, the Yumi necklace with me. I love it because it's we call it the lasso. Why I love it? Because I can move and I can play with my pearls like this, you know, depending, or if I want to move it up, I can make a little cravat, or I can lower it, or, you know, make it a little bit lower. So I think it's a very classy, beautiful necklace. You know, it's sexy, it's classy. It's been our bestseller so far. Women, they love it. So that's actually what we call the Yumi, and they are made of baroque, semi-baroque pearl. So the semi-baroque pearl are the shape is not round, is a little bit like drop, like do you see that?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so we call this semi-baroque pearl.
Okay.
Jeanne is saying something to me. I can also, we have a friend of Tereva from Tahiti actually on the line right now. She's actually all the way from Tahiti.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Saying that she can give a testimony about Tereva's work. So Jeanne, by no means, if you want to come in, just put your camera in, and then we can hear.
Yeah, now I'll spotlight her if she wants to.
If she wants to talk. So Jeanne, please go ahead.
There she is. Hold on. Let me spotlight you.
Jeanne is actually the lady that was speaking in the video. Yes.
The video. Bonjour.
Yes.
Yes.
She made those
Sorry.
beautiful movies.
Sorry for the late. I take some. I had some problems, technical problems, to join you on your meeting, and thank you very much to invite me. And I'm so happy to heard about Haitian cultured pearl everywhere in the world. And congratulations, Marie. You are a very nice and professional ambassador of our pearls, and I'm really happy to be with you.
I learned from the master. I learned from you, Jeanne. She's a master.
Oh, you're welcome.
She's a master. Totally.
I'm just a passionate people about my pearls. Our pearl with Tereva, because as one of our parents are from Tahiti. I was born also in Tahiti, and I live in Tahiti. But what I would like mostly to tell you is I know Tereva since more than 20 years. And we have worked together. He had created a lot of pearl collection here in Tahiti, in one of the most important jewelries in Tahiti. And I know about his passion also. We share this passion about one of our Tahitian paradise treasure, the only as we said, when we talk about pearls, Tahitian pearl, we said that this is the queen of pearls, and for queens also.
For queen, it was the queen.
Yes, and he's the eye, and that's really important. I've traveled all around the world for pearl, for promotion of pearl, but I've seen that a lot of jewelers use pearl as an accessory for a jewel. Tereva knows that he chooses one pearl, and each pearl are unique. The reason Marie described very the good just earlier, and he chooses one unique pearl, and he create a unique jewel all around. And only Polynesian jewelers has this this
imagination, to some creativity.
Yes, and way of work, way of creation about pearls jewelry. It doesn't exist anywhere on the world, and even for any other pearls, because the other pearls in the world, Australian ones, white, gold, as they are all the same, then jewelers create jewels, make 1,000 copies or 100 copies, and then they just have to glue the pearls on. For Tahitian pearl is not possible, because as they are all unique and all different, it's impossible to find two pearls exactly the same for the 5 criteria as Marie described earlier. So Tereva get the eyes to value the pearl, and with his creation, Tattoo Pearl was a very clever creation. Then he give more unicity for his jewels, and I'm just here to testimony to make a testimony about his professionalism that I know personally since more than 20 years.
It's a 20 years experience.
Thank you, Jeanne. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, that is beautiful. It's a lot. Again, my understanding, I will just share this from the beautiful testimony that she gave. Is she really is proud of your integrity with your work, that you not only are you imaginative, creative, but there's an integrity to your culture that you deeply respect and want to maintain. And so this is why she, yes, I see that. And thank you for sharing those words and those thoughts.
You're
because
welcome.
That is a lost art. There's not too many people that will give that kind of care to this, when they can just think about the mass production and making money versus making art, and that in itself is a lost a lost craft that we don't see as often. So thank you. This is why I wanted to have him. So thank you for sharing your words, and I will put you back on there, Tereva,
and thank you very much for your interest, obviously.
Pleasure.
So Patty, maybe I could share, this is not in the collection, but since we spoke just now about Tereva's heart and how he makes a pearl, with a pearl, he makes a jewelry. I just want to share with everybody actually my engagement ring that he made for me when he proposed to me 2 weeks ago. So you guys can see it. This is a diamond on pearl with a sapphire and pink on pink gold. I don't know, Jeanne, if you've seen this.
Wow.
Oh yeah, she's seen it because we
She
went.
was there.
That's actually my engagement ring that Tereva made for me.
Gorgeous.
Yes, and so it's very special because it looks like a flower to me, and obviously I love flowers.
Yeah. Yes. Lance, friends from Cambridge, said incredible. He can't see that. And again, to your point, we underestimate the beauty of the uniqueness for you to actually use that one pearl to work around versus getting a piece of jewelry and putting a bunch of pearls on it. Like I never even thought of it that way. So that's beautiful. And the tattooing was what I like. What? Now pearls are cool. Like it made it so much cooler for me suddenly. It wasn't just sophisticated and classy, it was edgy. Can you bring that up again, some of the tattoos?
Yes, sure. I can show this is actually part of the same collection. This is a Yumi, the necklace, and then the ring Yumi. So this one has the tattoo pearl on it.
One of them, look at that.
And this is actually the Marquisian cross, which is also a very strong Polynesian symbol that Tereva used as well for his logo. So he reproduced the Marquisian cross on that one, but he's made much more. Tu vas aller chercher l'autre avec le. Ah non, yeah, we have it here. I'm going to show you.
Dis-leur que chaque
I'm going to show you another
je
one.
ne dois pas me tromper, que c'est la pression, c'est soit je réussis, soit je perds.
This one is beautiful. I like it. It has a turtle in it. I don't know if you guys can see it.
Oh, can you bring it closer? Wait a second. No, down there. Wait, stay right there.
It has
that's a turtle. Yes, I see it. I see the head. Oh my God.
Elle est à l'envers. Okay, it's upside down. Sorry.
Stunning, the turtle. Now, Tereva, I just heard him whisper in your ear, that is gorgeous. He said when he's doing the tattooing process, if he messes up, that pearl is lost.
That's it, because it's only.
Oh my God. So
the process is very technical because je dois, quand je commence à graver, je dois réussir.
He has to be so focused, and I see him sometimes. I don't even want to talk to him because he's really on it, and it's like he's drilling on it, and so one bad movement and then it's gone. You cannot erase it.
Il n'y a pas d'essai.
That's why he has his workshop downstairs in a cave. Nobody come in.
Nobody goes up. Exactly. And this one c'est le tiki, celui-là?
Oui.
So this one is nice. This is more of a masculine symbol. This one, the turtle, is more like the feminine, but this is the tiki warrior. That is very, very strong symbol in Polynesia. And so you can see the tiki warrior. A lot of men love this because it represents.
It's gorgeous.
This is actually on this is done on a macrame with black onyx. This one is very popular with the Marquisian cross in the back. So that symbol.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So those are the tattoo pearl that Tereva makes. Yes.
Oh my goodness, it's absolutely beautiful. Like really.
Tattoo come from. There are a lot of tradition of tattoo in French Polynesia, and it's where in the history first dans l'histoire humaine, c'est là où il y a les tatouages les plus anciens.
This is out of all human history. This is where in Tahiti they have the most ancient tattoos.
Ancient tattoos
ancient tattoo in the world.
In the world.
In fact, if you want to get a tattoo, Polynesian tattoo in Montreal, there is this one man that does this, and you have to wait 1 year to make a.
Oh, that's what you have.
Some of them have tattooed like this. This is a Tahitian tattoo, for instance. It's more tribal a little bit. So.
Same like this here.
Like so, show all of tattoos.
Nice.
It's a sign of courage because it's a ritual.
A ritual, yeah.
Come the kids arrive in the man's life, he must be tattooed.
Okay.
And traditionally, it hurt. It hurt a lot. It depends where to do it.
No kidding. It hurt a lot.
It hurt a lot, right?
Hence, this is how you became a man. If you can take the pain of the tattoo,
Yeah,
then you're
a mark of courage.
a
Mhm.
mark of courage. Yes, yes, and a true warrior. Wow, amazing. So, please, do any final words about your collection and anything you want us all to know, please?
Well, you know, I've got a few pieces that I wear. Like this is all from the Yumi collection.
Mm,
This one is very popular too. This is the Yumi ring, a smaller pearl
yes, pearls.
with a Tahitian with the
Oh my
Tahitian symbol in
gosh.
it. And so same with the bracelet. You know, you can see it's the same
Mm.
collection. What else do I have? I have this one. This is a charm. This is called the charm bracelet. I like
Mm,
it because, you know, it's a little bit with a pendant
yes,
here.
yes.
And then those earrings are also very popular because it's two pearls, one in the back and one in the front. I don't know if you
Mhm.
guys can see
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And
Push it. Oh, yeah, yeah. Beautiful.
so it's classy because, you know, it's easy to wear, and you know, I wear them everywhere, and I don't have to lose and to worry about long pending
Dans les cheveux, ça fait-
Earrings, yeah,
Yeah.
the long pendants, yeah, they get in the way. Yep, yep.
You know, I mean, the rest of it, like we've got this beautiful necklace. It's all pearl based. I can show you. You know, this is actually
Mm,
like a river of pearl one, and so you can see the colors. I don't know if you see
gorgeous,
well,
gorgeous, gorgeous,
but
gorgeous.
they're all
Yep,
different colors.
I could just imagine the
And I
price of
mean,
that
some
one.
of it is on our website really, and you can
Yeah.
take a look at them. But I just wanted to show at least a few pieces of what Tereva is making, and you know, I'm aware we may be running out of time, so
That's okay. That's okay. Truthfully, everybody who's listening in, I will be also sending this to everyone and posting it again. The prices on your website are in Canadian dollars. So for all my American friends, this is a steal, just so you know. And really, I'm not someone who's always trying to promote or sell things, but when it comes to true artistry and the kind of work that Tereva has done and is creating, it's something that's worth looking. And if there's one piece that you can take, then this is something that you need to consider, because it is unique. And to boot, with the tattooing, he can actually create something that's uniquely for you. Like the fact that he can, you know, carve a logo or a meaningful emblem or whatever it is for you. I mean, that in itself is priceless. So I really appreciate you sharing all of this information with us. And I think it was incredible. Again, if you'd like to finish off with anything, go right ahead.
yes, thank you, Patty, and I really appreciate, and we appreciate so much the time we spent. You know, for us, it's and I know for Tereva, he loves to share his passion, and so thank you so much for that. And yeah, we've offered a little discounts for your group, so if people want to take advantage of this, the prices range anywhere from 100 to 700 and everything in between.
This is Canadian also.
Yeah, in Canadian. Right. So we try to accommodate everybody's budget, and those are beautiful gift for Christmas. You know, if you want to give someone unique, if you want to give it to a unique pearl, whether it's a man or a woman, this is actually a very good way to give someone a pearl that they will keep all their life. So
yeah. Beautiful. Thank you. Good. So thank you so much for sharing your heart, your passion, your talent with all of us here. Thank you, everybody, for listening in, for all of those of you who could have joined in. And I appreciate all of this. I totally love the education behind it and the beauty of the artistry and the creation of his work. So thank you, Tereva, for sharing your gift with us. And Marie, for being so beautifully, you know, patient and eloquent with the translation. I mean, I could listen to your voice all day long. So thank you.
You're very welcome, Patty. Thank you so much. We'll speak soon, my dear.
Yes. Bye, everyone.
Take care.